Say her mother's name. Siobhan. Say it again. Siobhan Meave Doyle. Born March 9th. Ashfield, Ohio. Anybody can read a headstone. She had a chipped front tooth, and she never got it capped. I carried the other end of her mattress up a flight of stairs when she was 19. I still have the scar. Then where were you 2 Thursdays ago? On a bus. 2 days, 3 transfers. I got here when I could get here. You do not come near her. I have papers and I have her last name. That is more than most men get. Get off my porch! There is a light blinking on the machine behind you. That is me. That was my 3rd message. Then you know she has a hearing on the 1st of May. Nobody said anything to me about a hearing. Nobody had to. I filed it.
Owen Brandt fixed furnaces. He had done it for 19 years, and he was good in the way quiet men are sometimes good, which is to say nobody ever mentioned it. He was 41. He had been a widower for 13 days. His daughter's name was Wren. She had been deaf since she was 4, after a fever that lasted 6 days and took her hearing on the 5th. She read faces the way other people read weather. Owen closed the door. He did not slam it. He turned the deadbolt and left his hand on it longer than the job required. Wren tapped the window frame twice. Owen turned and lifted 2 fingers back. "Who?" she signed. Owen's hands were slow. He had learned sign at 38, in a church basement, from a workbook with a coffee ring on the cover. "Nobody," he signed. "Wrong house. Your face is lying." "My face is tired." "Same shape," she signed, and went back to her math worksheet, pressing the pencil hard enough to dimple the paper. That morning he had been under a house on Latimer Road with a flashlight in his teeth, looking at a hairline crack along a weld in the heat exchanger. The homeowner stood at the top of the stairs.
Can it wait until fall?
It could. It would be a mistake. The thermostat says the unit is fine. Cold is honest. It shows you every gap. Your thermostat is not honest. It only knows what you set it to. On the counter, the answering machine blinked. It was an old model with a microcassette behind a hinged door. Owen would not replace it, because the outgoing greeting was still in Siobhan's voice. "You have reached the Brandts. Try the shop if it is about heat." He pressed play. 4 seconds into the first message, he pressed stop. He told himself he would do it later. He would not hear the whole of that message for 20 more days. By then the machine would be gone, and a great deal else besides. The envelope from Ardell County Juvenile Court sat on top of the refrigerator, where a child could not reach it. Complaint alleging dependency. Enri. Wren Siobhan Brandt, a minor. Petitioner, Dermot A. Doyle, maternal uncle. Owen had not known his wife had a brother. That was not exactly true, and the untruth of it sat in him like a swallowed stone. She had said the word brother twice in 11 years. Once in a diner on Route 9, and then she changed the subject so cleanly that he understood he was being asked not to follow. Once in a hospital hallway. "My brother would have known what to do," she had said, to nobody. He had never asked. He had thought that was respect. It turned out it was a door he had left unlocked for 11 years. The next afternoon was a Friday. Owen got to the school at 3:15, and the man was already inside the fence. I was crouched to Wren's height out on the blacktop, and his hands were moving beautifully. He signed the way a musician plays without watching his own fingers. He had a photograph in his left hand. Wren was holding the corner of it and laughing. Owen had not heard his daughter laugh since March. He got 9 steps toward them before the deaf education teacher cut him off at the door. "Mr. Brandt, I need you in the office. Hi is standing on your blacktop. He has a badge and I need an incident form signed before anybody leaves this property." "How long?" 2 minutes. "I would rather you were angry at me than at the district." The office had a glass wall onto the yard. Owen signed his name while a secretary hunted for a second copy. Through the glass, he watched a stranger hold up a photograph for his daughter. The glass was the kind with wire in it. Nobody in that office heard a word. Out on the blacktop, the man was talking while he signed, the way people do who learned a language from an adult book. "That is her, 9 years old. That is a rabbit named Pepper. It chewed a lamp cord in 1989 and lived. My mother called it a miracle. My father called it a fire hazard." And Wren Brandt, who had been reading mouths since she was 5, watched him say the next sentence. "I am Siobhan's brother." 3 shapes. She had learned to read mouths on that exact word at a kitchen table from the woman it belonged to. She knew what it looked like when it was right. She did not say anything because she was 9, and because a stranger had just handed her a picture of her mother holding a rabbit. Owen came out with the form in his hand. You had no right to be inside that fence. I signed in. I have the badge. The man tapped his jacket. I am Siobhan's brother. I have a right to look at my sister's daughter. Siobhan, Owen said, and heard nothing wrong with it, because there was nothing wrong with it. That was the only time. Not at the conference before the hearing, not on a phone, not in front of a judge. He said it correctly maybe 60 times over the next 3 weeks, and every one of them was flawless. In the car, Wren pulled his sleeve. She started to raise her hands. She got as far as the sign for mouth. Then a car behind them leaned on its horn, and Owen looked over his shoulder to back out, and the moment went under like a coin in a river. Nobody asked the deaf child what she saw. That is the whole mechanism of it. A room of adults will argue about a document for 3 weeks and never once turn to the one person who was watching a mouth. The house on Wexler Street was 52 degrees that night. The induced draft motor on Owen's own furnace had seized in February. He had given the replacement part to a customer on a fixed income and never ordered another. Wren did her homework in a coat with the hood up. In her house, heat was a thing her father gave away. "You are cold," Owen signed. "You are cold," she signed back and pointed at his knuckles, which cracked open every year from January to May. He mud her cocoa. She got her notebook, which she carried everywhere, and which was how she talked to people whose hands did not work. Who was the man at school? Owen looked at the question a while. "I is your mother's brother," he wrote. She read it. She wrote one word and turned the page around. "Really?" "I do not know," Owen said out loud. Then he signed it, badly, and she watched him fight through it and did not correct him, which was its own kind of mercy. On the 14th, a woman from Ardell County Children's Services came to the house with a clipboard. "It is 52 degrees in here. Part is on order." "Since when?" "February." "That is 10 weeks." "Yes." "Do you want to tell me why?" "No." She wrote. He watched her write. He had spent his adult life watching people write things about him on clipboards. "Does Wren have a support system? Grandparents, an aunt, family friends certified in ASL?" "No." "No to which part?" "All of it." "Who watches her when you get an emergency call at night?" "She comes." "To the job site." "She sits in the van with a book and a flashlight. The van runs. It is warm in there. Warmer than this kitchen." "Yes." The caseworker wrote for a long time. "Would you sign something for me? Just one sentence. Ask her what she had for lunch." Owen raised his hands. He got the sign for lunch and lost the sentence. He restarted. His fingers made a shape that meant nothing. Across the room, Wren kindly did not look up. "I am learning," Owen said. "How long have you been learning?" 3 years. She wrote that down too. 2 days later, Wren was not in the yard. Owen had been in the driveway 9 minutes, sorting fittings into a bin. When he looked up, the swing was still moving and the yard was empty. He ran 3 blocks in work boots. He found her outside the Blue Kettle Laundry on Grant Street, back against the plywood the city had screwed over the door. Her hands were folded in her lap like a woman at a bus stop. Owen went down on both knees on the concrete. "You do not do that," he signed. "Never." "I wanted to see where." "There is nothing to see." "It is a door with a board on it," she signed, and she went in it. Behind that plywood, on the 26th of March, a water heater flue had been left disconnected during a roof job. Carbon monoxide filled a closed building for 4 hours, while Siobhan Brandt folded towels and closed out a register. A customer walked in at 9:20, walked out dizzy, and called 911. That customer lived. 3 weeks before that, Owen had offered the building owner a free vent inspection. The owner said no. Owen said all right and drove away. It was not his building. There is a specific kind of grief for men who fix things. Across Grant Street, in the window of a coffee place, a man sat with a paper cup and raised 2 fingers off the lid. Owen carried his daughter home on his back and did not turn around. The diner was on Route 9, which Owen minded more than he let on. The man ordered coffee and did not drink it. "I do not want your house. I do not want $1. You filed a court complaint. I filed what a lawyer told me to file. I did not know what it was called until it was stamped. It is called taking my daughter. It is called Saturdays." He turned his cup a quarter turn. "You have not slept. I can see it from here. There is nobody in that house but you and a child who cannot call out to you at night. She can call out. She can bang on a wall. Then she bangs on a wall. Mr. Brandt, I am not the man in the story you are telling yourself. I am a man who got out and came back and found out he was 12 days late. Where were you for 11 years? Places I am not proud of. Name one. Cabot County, Missouri. 14 months. Check it. It is public." Owen did check it. It was public. It was true. Every single thing that man said was checkable, and every checkable thing checked out. It took Owen 14 days to understand that a lie can be built almost entirely out of facts. He drove out to Verna's place on Saturday. Her furnace had been short cycling. She was 78, and he had never once charged her for anything. "You are doing that thing where you do not talk," she said. "I never talk. You talk to me. What is his name?" "Dermot Doyle." "And?" "And he has a birth certificate, a social security card, a photograph of my wife holding a rabbit, and the scar she used to tell a story about." Verna had been a records clerk for Ardell County for 31 years. She had retired with a sheet cake, a pen set, and a working knowledge of exactly how American paperwork lies. "Sit down. Do you know what most people get wrong?" "Tell me." "They think the forgery is the certificate. It almost never is. Certificates are hard. People are easy." "Meaning what?" "Meaning if you want a false uncle, you do not print a false uncle. You find a real one who is not using his name anymore." By Monday the 20th, she had it. Ohio Vital Records. Birth Index, Ashfield. Doyle, Dermot Aloysius. Born 1979. The mother's maiden name matched Siobhan's. "He is real," Owen said. "Do not say well and do not say he is real, like that is a finish line. He is on the index. Dermot Doyle is on the index. That is not the same sentence as the man on your porch is Dermot Doyle." She tapped the page twice. "Go home. I'm going to call some people who still owe me for a wedding gift." The conference before the hearing was on the 21st, in a room with a laminate table. It was the first time Owen saw Nadine Pruitt work. She was in her 50s, with reading glasses pushed into gray hair. Both her parents had been deaf. She had been interpreting since she was 6 years old at a pharmacy counter. She worked 2 hours without moving her face. Afterward, she caught him at the elevator. "May I say a strange thing to you?" "Go ahead." "Your brother-in-law fingerspells beautifully." "He is not my brother-in-law." "All right, that man fingerspells beautifully. Fast, clean, no drift." "And?" "And he spelled his sister's name twice today. Both times he stopped for a fraction of a second before the B." "Meaning what?" "Meaning he was thinking about the spelling." "People think. I have been doing this 40 years. I have spelled my mother's name maybe 100,000 times." She let it sit. "I have never once had to think about it." Owen did not sleep that night. On the 23rd, Verna called at 7 in the morning. "I have a friend in Missouri who is meaner than I am. Cabot County Detention, Infirmary, 14 months ago." "Say it." "A man died of a pulmonary embolism at 3 in the morning. There was exactly one other inmate in that room." "Dermot." "The man who died was booked as D. Aloysius. No middle name, no Doyle. So the paperwork. So everything downstream went out under Aloysius. The death certificate, the county filing, the state index. Ohio never matched it because Ohio was never looking for Aloysius." Owen sat down on the edge of the bed. 14 months, he said. 14 months your wife's brother has been dead. And not one computer in this country noticed, because a clerk in Missouri typed exactly what she was handed. "Then who is on my porch?" "The other man in that room," Verna said. "The one who sat with him for 6 months. The one who heard every story he had." Tess Brannigan was Owen's legal aid attorney. She had 61 open cases and a coffee stain on her cuff. "You have a theory, and it is a good theory. What you do not have is a calendar. Then get the Missouri record to prove that man is not Dermot Doyle. I need a certified death record, an identity comparison, probably a fingerprint card, and a judge in another state to unseal something. On a good month, that is 60 to 90 days. The hearing is on the 1st. The hearing is in 8 days." She turned a page. "And I have to tell you what is actually in front of Judge Renfro. It is not the question of who he is." "Then what is it?" "It is the question of who you are. I am her father. You are a father whose house was 52 degrees during a state inspection, whose daughter was found alone on a curb at a fatality site, whose signing was described in a report using the words limited and effortful. That is a report. It is the only report she has." She looked up. "He does not have to prove he is her uncle. He has to prove you are unsuitable. In Ohio, once a court finds a parent unsuitable, custody can go to a non-parent. That is the whole game. He does not need to be right. He needs you to be wrong." That was the first time Owen understood the shape of it. It was much larger than a man on a porch and much colder. Verna found the rest on the 24th, working from the notary block at the bottom of the petition. R. Rennick, commission number, Marion County, Indiana. I ran him against public guardianship filings in 2 states. And 3 others, inside 14 months. Tell me all 3. A boy in Terre Haute. Mother died in a warehouse fire, settlement pending. A girl in Zanesville. Father killed by a delivery truck. A boy in Kokomo. Medical malpractice. She read in a flat voice. In every case, a relative appears inside 30 days of the funeral. In every case, the relative carries real documents belonging to a real person nobody has heard from in years. In every case, the same notary. And then? And then in 2 of the 3, the court appointed a professional fiduciary to administer the child's money.
Rennick.
Rennick is on the approved fiduciary list in both states. He has been for 9 years. Owen looked at the ceiling of his kitchen for a while. So it is not about the uncle. It was never about the uncle. The uncle is a key. The lock is the money. There were 2 piles of money, and only one of them existed yet. The small pile was real. Siobhan had a group life policy through her employer's payroll provider, $91,000, and it paid out on the 9th of April. Her daughter also drew a Social Security survivor benefit of $1,880 a month. A deaf child of a dead parent is one of the few things this country pays fast. Both went into a court-supervised guardianship account, and that account belongs to whoever the court says is raising her. The large pile did not exist yet. There was a wrongful death claim against the roofing contractor and the building owner, not yet filed. The contractor's carrier had already put a number on the table to keep it out of court, $1,265,000. Nobody had signed a release. Nobody would for a year, maybe 3. That is the part that turned my stomach, Verna said. They are not chasing money that exists. They are chasing money that is coming. They got here before it did. They always do. That is the business. Verna gave him a phone number. Owen called it at 9 that night. A man in Zanesville answered on the 6th ring and did not want to talk. I do not do interviews. I fix furnaces, not a reporter.
Then why are you calling me?
Because a man showed up 12 days after my wife's funeral with her brother's papers, and he knew about a rabbit. There was a long pause on the line, something set down on a table. He said he was my wife's cousin, the man said. He had a photo of the 2 of them at a lake. He had her confirmation certificate. What happened? I lost 11 minutes, start to finish. The judge said I was grieving and unreliable, and she was not wrong about the grieving part. Where is she now? Foster care in another county. The cousin never took her. He never even asked to. The man's voice went flat. There is a company in Indianapolis that signs her checks. I get a statement twice a year. Did anybody listen to you? Everybody listened. Listening is free. Another pause. Do not go in there and be right, Mr. Brandt. I was right. Go in there with something a court can hold. Owen drove to the Kingsway Motor Lodge that night and knocked on the door of room 12. The man opened it in a t-shirt with a dish towel over his shoulder. Come in, he said, as though he had been expecting him. The worst part was that he had. The room was clean. Bed made, shoes lined up, a hot plate with something on it. On the table by the window, index cards were laid out in rows. Owen read them without asking. Chipped front tooth, fell off a porch step, 1988. Rabbit named Pepper, chewed lamp cord, called the radiator the Tin Man, hated the smell of oranges, cried at the end of every parade. 24 cards in small block printing. A woman's whole childhood, laid out like a hand of solitaire. Beside them, a stack of ASL flashcards worn soft at the corners. A spiral book called Conversational Signing for Adults. A photograph in a plastic sleeve of a young woman about 19 on a lawn somewhere, signing to whoever held the camera. That is not my wife. No. Who is it? The man dried his hands, slowly. Her name is Junie. She is my daughter. She was born deaf. Where is she? The state took her when she was 6. I did not fight it correctly because I did not know how. She is 19 now. She has not written to me in 4 years. And the flashcards. I learned to sign in a county facility from a man whose sister had a deaf child. It took 2 years. I got good at it. He set the towel down. I got good at it about 11 years too late. You are not Dermot Doyle. I did not say I was. You said it on my porch. I said I had papers and the right last name. Say her name. Siobhan. Say it again. Siobhan Perfect both times. Dermot Doyle died in Missouri 14 months ago. You were in that room. I held his hand for 2 hours. There was nobody else in the building who would have. And then he talked for 6 months about a sister he was too ashamed to call. He had a letter in his property envelope he never mailed. He asked me to find her. And you found her. I found her 12 days after she was buried. And then you filed for guardianship of her daughter. And then I met a man who told me how to help.
Rennick.
He did not answer that. Mr. Brandt, I'm going to tell you the truth. I think you are the only person in this county who will hear it and not use it. Do not do me favors. That child can talk to me. She cannot talk to you. He leaned forward. I watched you sign at that school. You are a good man with cold hands and no language. I have language and no child. Do you understand how simple that math looks to a judge? You do not want her, Owen said. You want 1,880 a month. I want a Saturday. Rennick wants a signature on a check nobody has written yet. Say it in English. There is a carrier sitting on $1,265,000 that it would rather pay than litigate. Somebody has to sign the release for a child. That somebody is worth more than every Saturday I will ever have. They are the same thing. They are not, and that is the part you have not worked out yet. He stood up. I do not have to win. Say that again. If Judge Renfro finds you unsuitable, and she does not want to hand a child to a man she has known 3 weeks, she does the safe thing. Temporary placement. And she appoints a professional fiduciary over the child's account and over any claim brought on the child's behalf. From a list. There are 4 names on that list in this county. Do you know one of them? Owen did not move. I do not need to be her uncle, the man said. I only need you to fail. Then a stranger signs the checks, I go home, and everybody in that room gets to say they did their best. At the door, he handed Owen a photograph. Owen asleep in the driver's seat of his van, outside a job on Latimer Road at 11 at night, mouth open. In the back seat, curled under a coat, was Wren. They gave that to the Guardian ad litem yesterday. I did not take it. I want you to know I did not take it. You did not stop it either. No, he said. I did not stop it either. If you have ever been the quiet one that a room full of paperwork decided it already understood, tell me in the comments, because the rest of this is yours. Ramona Fitch was a United States postal inspector out of the Columbus office. She came to Verna's kitchen on the 27th because Verna had called a man who had called a woman who owed her a favor. She listened for 50 minutes and wrote for 10. Forged supporting documents crossing state lines through the mail. Notary fraud. If your friend in Missouri is right, identity theft of a decedent. She capped her pen. This is a case. I want you to hear me say that out loud. This is a real case and I'm going to open it. How long? To subpoena a notary log, authenticate a Missouri certified copy, and get a warrant that survives a defense attorney? 10 working days. Possibly 14. The hearing is Friday. I know. That is 4 days. I know that too. She put the pen in her coat. Mr. Brandt, I cannot stop Friday. Then what good are you? I can be in the room on Friday, she said. Sometimes that matters more than people think. That night, Owen sat across the kitchen table from his daughter with a legal pad between them. He told her because she had a right to know, and because she had already worked most of it out. Court on Friday, he wrote. A judge decides where you live. She took the pencil. Do I get to talk? He looked at that question a long time. No, he wrote. Why? Because it is not a child's job. She read it. She set the pencil down. Then she reached out and knocked on the table 3 times, deliberately, looking straight at him. Owen's hands went still. The knocks were something they had done since she was 4. 2 knuckles, twice, meant I am here. 3 meant you are safe. He had gotten them from Siobhan, who used to do them on the headboard when Wren woke up frightened. He had assumed, the way husbands assume, that she invented them for their daughter. Wren picked up the pencil. Mom said Uncle did it first. In the cold house. 2 knocks on the pipe means, are you awake? 3 means I am cold, come over. Owen read it twice. 3 means come over, he said out loud. She wrote, she said the radiator was the Tin Man. She said him and her talked all night and nobody ever heard them. Owen Brandt, who had not cried at the funeral because 200 people were watching him, put his forehead down on the kitchen table. Then he lifted his head and wrote one more line. Did she teach you the knocks, or did I? Wren wrote, she did, when I was little, before you. The people nobody speaks to are the people who learn to watch. Let me talk on Friday, she signed. No, let me talk. No, let me talk. She signed it a 4th time while crying, and she still formed it correctly, which was the most Siobhan thing Owen had ever seen a human being do. All right, he said, and signed it badly, and she understood him perfectly. Nadine Pruitt came to the house on Tuesday evening, off the clock, because Tess Brannigan asked her to, and because she wanted to. I am not allowed to tell her what to say, she said at the door. I want that on the table before I take my coat off. Then what are you here for? To tell her what a room looks like. She sat down across from Wren. When you sign, I speak. I say exactly what your hands say. If you sign something rude, I will say it in a very calm voice. Wren smiled for the first time in 9 days. If I do not understand you, I will stop and ask again, and everybody will look at us. That is not you being wrong. That is me doing my job. Will he be there? Wren signed. Yes. Close? Close enough to touch, probably. Does that frighten you? Wren thought about it. No, I want to see his hands. Nadine went very still. Why his hands? Because his hands are perfect, Wren signed. Nobody's hands are perfect. My father's hands are wrong every day, and they are still my father's hands. Nadine Pruitt sat back in her chair. Owen was standing at the counter with a dish towel he had stopped using. Wren, Nadine said, you are allowed to ask a question in there. 1. It has to be your question, not his, not your father's, not mine. I have one. Do you want to tell me what it is? No. All right, Nadine said, and put her glasses back in her hair. That is probably the correct answer. On Wednesday the 29th, someone came through the back window of Brandt Furnace and Boiler. They did not take the copper. They did not take the nitrogen bottles, or the recovery machine, or the cash box with $300 in it. They took the answering machine off the counter and the phone cord with it. Owen stood in the shop at 6 in the morning, looking at the clean rectangle in the dust. Then he put his hand in his coat pocket. The microcassette was still there. On Monday, he had driven it to Hardin Hearing Aid Center on 9th Street and asked a technician a question. Can an old tape like this get copied onto something a court would take? Probably. Give me until Thursday. I will leave it. Do not leave it. Bring it Thursday. If I lose it, you will never get it back. So the tape had been in his coat for 3 days, and it was in his coat still. Owen went to the back office and put it in the dictation recorder he used for job notes. He pressed play. He did not stop it this time. His wife's voice came first. You have reached the Brandts. Try the shop if it is about heat. Owen put both hands flat on the desk. Then the beep. Then a date stamp in a robot voice. April 6th, 8:52 p.m. Then a man.
Yeah, hello, my name is Dermot Doyle. I am calling about my sister. Her married name was Brandt. I understand there is a claim pending against the roofing contractor, and I understand a minor cannot sign a release. I would like to talk about who is going to hold that money. I will call again.
Owen played it 4 times. April 6th. 3 days before that man ever stood on his porch. 3 days before the life insurance even paid out. 3 days before a diner on Route 9, and I do not want $1, and I have not asked one question about it. They had known about the claim before the money knew about itself. The tape did not know it was evidence, and the tape did not care. A microcassette from 1998 is the one witness in America that nobody gets to talk to first. At 1:20 on Thursday afternoon, Ardell County Children's Services executed an emergency order and removed Ren Brandt from Stanton Mills Elementary. Owen came home at 4:10 with 2 bags of groceries and a new induced draft motor under his arm. The door was locked. There was a paper taped to it at adult eye level. He read it standing on the step with the groceries still in his hands. Then he set them down on the porch, very carefully, one bag, and then the other. He called Tess Brannigan from the porch. They took her. I know, I got the notice 20 minutes ago. Then you stop it. Not before Friday. Nobody can. Then tell me what to do tonight. There was a pause on the line that lasted long enough for him to hear a copier running somewhere. Owen, I'm going to say something unprofessional. Do not go up to that building and make a scene. Whatever you do tonight goes in a file, and on Friday somebody reads that file out loud. So I do nothing. You do nothing loud, she said. That is not the same thing. He did not call anybody else. There was nobody else to call. That was the exact finding the county had made about him, and now it was also true. He drove to the emergency shelter on Pruitt Avenue, a converted 3-story rooming house with a chain-link fence. Contact before the hearing is not permitted, sir. I am sorry. Which window? Sir? I am not coming in. I am not going to knock on your door. Then what are you asking me? Which window is hers? Then I am going to sit in my van. The woman at the desk was maybe 30. She had worked there 4 years and had never been asked that question. 3rd floor, she said. The one on the left, with the yellow curtain. Owen sat on Pruitt Avenue from 5:40 until the sun went down. At 9 o'clock, he rolled the window down, reached out, and knocked on the metal doorframe. 3 times, hard. 3 times, hard. 3 times. Nothing happened for a long minute. Then the light in the 3rd floor window on the left went off, and on, and off, and on. 2. I am here. Owen Brandt put a hand over his mouth and sat in the dark until 5 in the morning. Tess Brannigan found him on the courthouse steps at 8:30 with a coffee he did not drink. You have not slept. No. Good. Neither has he. Whatever you do in there, do not argue with Kirchner. He's going to say I am not fit. He's going to say it politely. And if you fight him, he wins. A man defending himself sounds like a man with something to defend. She squared his collar without asking. You're going to be boring. You're going to be so boring that the only interesting person in that room is your daughter. And if that is not enough, then it is not enough, she said, and I will still be standing next to you at 11. Courtroom 2 of the Ardell County Juvenile Division was small and warm and smelled like floor wax. It filled by 8:50 on Friday the 1st of May. Dale Kirchner represented the petitioner. He was 60 and unhurried and very good, and he had the gift of making everything he said sound like something the judge had already decided. He put the caseworker on first. What was the interior temperature? 52 degrees. For how long, by his own statement? Since February. And the child was located where on the 16th? On a public curb alone, at the site where her mother died. Describe the father's communication with his daughter. Limited, the caseworker said, and effortful. Nadine Pruitt, in the interpreter's chair, did not change expression. Her jaw moved once. Tess Brannigan stood for cross.
How many minutes did you spend in that kitchen?
About 40.
How many watching the child?
I do not have a number for that. Did she look afraid of her father?
No.
Did she look hungry?
No.
Did anyone in your agency ask her a single question about what she wanted? The caseworker looked at her notes for 4 seconds. She is 9, and she is nonverbal. She is 9, Tess Brannigan said, and she is not nonverbal. She has a language. Nobody in this building learned it. Objection. Sustained. Move on, counselor. The guardian ad litem came next and recommended, with regret, that legal custody go to the maternal uncle, with liberal visitation to the father. A photograph of a man asleep in a van went into evidence. Then Dale Kirchner did the smartest thing he did all morning. Your Honor, may my client greet the child? Briefly. The man stood, turned, and signed across the courtroom. He signed slowly, warmly, with his whole body, the way people sign to someone they love. Good morning. You look brave. Your mother had that same coat. The gallery made a sound. Not a big one. A soft one, which is worse. Judge Alma Renfro watched all of it over her glasses. Then Tess Brannigan called Owen Brandt, and it went the way Owen knew it would go. Mr. Brandt, why was the furnace out? Part was on order. For 10 weeks? Yes.
Is there a reason?
No. I was not going to say in a courtroom that he had given it away. Some men would rather be found unfit. Then Dale Kirchner stood up, very politely. Sir, would you sign a sentence for the court? Which sentence? Any sentence at all. Tell your daughter that you love her. Owen raised his hands. He got 2 words in and the third came apart on him, the way it always did when people watched. He started again. It came apart again. 30 people in a warm room watched a man fail to say I love you to a child in a language he had started learning at 38 years old. Thank you, said Dale Kirchner. Nothing further. Judge Renfro recessed at 10:20 and came back at 10:35. I am going to hear from the child. In chambers. Counsel, the father, the petitioner, the interpreter, the reporter. Nobody else. Chambers was a small room with a window that did not open. 11 people crowded into it. Ren Brandt sat in a chair with her feet not quite touching the floor. Ren, the judge said, and Nadine signed it. Do you understand that everyone in here has to tell the truth? Ren nodded.
Is there something you want to say?
Ren shook her head.
No?
Ren raised her hands, and Nadine's voice came a half-second behind them, flat and exact. I want to ask him something. Judge Renfro looked at Dale Kirchner, who spread his hands, because what else could he do? Go ahead. Ren turned in her chair and looked at the man who had brought her a photograph of her mother holding a rabbit. Her hands moved. When my mother was cold at night in the cold house, Nadine said, how many times did you knock on the pipe? And he smiled because he knew this one. It was on a card, on a table, in room 12 of the Kingsway Motor Lodge. He signed back without a pause, warm and fluent and completely wrong. Twice, Nadine voiced. I knocked twice. Every night. Ren looked at him for 3 full seconds. Then she raised her hands again, and the room went quiet very fast, because a child of 9 was explaining something, and every adult in it had to sit still. 2 knocks means, are you awake? 3 knocks means, I am cold, come over. Nadine's voice did not change. My mother was cold every night of her life in that house. You would have knocked 3. You never knocked 3, because you were never there. Dale Kirchner stood up. Your Honor, with respect. This is a 9-year-old repeating a family story she could have heard from either party, including from her father last night. I object to the entire line. Noted, said Judge Renfro. And Owen watched the room move back the other way, the way rooms do. His daughter had just spent everything she had, and it was not going to be enough. Then Ren raised her hands one more time. Nadine Pruitt read them and hesitated for the first time all day. Interpreter needs a repetition, she said.
Ren signed it again, slower.
She says he said her mother's name wrong. When? Said the judge. April 10th, in the parking lot at school. Nadine's eyes stayed on the child's hands. She says she saw his mouth. Judge Renfro took her glasses off. Sir, say your sister's name, please, out loud.
Chauvin. Again. Siovan.
Perfect. Twice. Dale Kirchner sat back down and did not need to say a word. Your Honor, Owen Brandt said. Everyone looked at him, because he had not spoken in chambers at all. I need 2 minutes. Mr. Brandt, you have counsel. I know it. I need 2 minutes and the corner of your desk. Judge Renfro looked at him. She had been on that bench 16 years, and she had a rule about quiet men. When one finally asks for something, you give it to him and find out why afterward. 2 minutes. Owen took the dictation recorder out of his coat and set it down. His hands were not steady. He pressed play. His wife's voice came into that room. Ren could not hear it. Owen had not warned himself about that part. You have reached the Brants. Try the shop if it is about heat. Beep. The robot date stamp. April 6th, 8:52 p.m.
Yeah, hello, my name is Dermot Doyle. I'm calling about my sister. Her married name was Brant. I understand there is a claim pending against the roofing contractor, and I understand a minor cannot sign a release. I would like to talk about who is going to hold that money. I will call again.
Owen pressed stop. Nobody said anything for 4 seconds, which in a room like that is a geological age. Ms. Pruitt, Judge Renfro said, you filed an interpreter note with my clerk on the 21st. I read it and I set it aside. Read it to me now. Nadine Pruitt took a folded page out of her bag. Interpreter observation, April 21. Petitioner finger spelled the name Siobhan twice. Both times he stopped about 1/3 of a second before the letter B. And what does an interpreter make of that? That he was recalling a spelling, Your Honor, not producing a name. She refolded the page. I have spelled my own mother's name for 40 years. There is no pause in it. There is no pause in anybody's. April 6th, Judge Renfro said, Mr. Kirchner, your client testified this morning that he first heard the word claim on the 21st. From me. In my own courtroom. I am reading from my own notes. Dale Kirchner looked at his client and did not look away for a while. Your Honor, may I have a moment with him? No, said Judge Renfro. She turned to the man in the chair and asked one question, and it was not the question anybody expected.
Sir, did you love that child's mother?
And he sat there in a small, warm room with a court reporter typing and his own lawyer 3 feet away. Then he did the one human thing left to him. I never met her. Nadine Pruitt signed it. Wren watched it land. I sat with her brother for 6 months. I know every story she ever told him. I know what she called the radiator. I know she cried at parades. His voice stayed level, and that was the worst of it. I would have been good to that child. I would have been better than good.
That is not a defense.
I know it is not a defense. It is the only true thing I have said in this building. What is your name? Gil Ostrander. Mr. Kirchner, did you know that?
No, Your Honor.
Do you wish to withdraw? I do. Granted. Judge Renfro put her glasses back on. Mr. Ostrander, there is a woman standing in the back of my courtroom in a gray coat who has been there since 8:50 this morning. She is not with the county. Gil Ostrander nodded once, slowly, the way a man does when the last card he was holding turns out to be a receipt. Did I say something to the child? No. Then can I say something to him? Judge Renfro looked at Owen. Owen looked at the recorder still sitting on the corner of her desk. In the hallway, Owen said. Not in here. At 11:15, Judge Renfro went back on the record in courtroom 2. She dismissed the complaint with prejudice, referred the petitioner to the county prosecutor, and ordered the child returned to her father. Ramona Fitch had been standing at the back of the gallery in a gray coat since 8:50. She stepped forward when Gil Ostrander came through the gate. Rennick was arrested 11 days later in a strip mall office in Indiana with a notary journal, a laptop, and a spreadsheet of 31 rows. 9 of those rows were children. 2 had already lost. That is the part that does not fit inside a courtroom. That is the part that keeps happening in counties nobody drives through. Owen Brant did not win everything. The complaint was dismissed, but Judge Renfro placed the family under protective supervision for 6 months. That is a case number, and case numbers follow a person. He had a caseworker in his kitchen every second Tuesday until November. He also lost the boiler retrofit at the middle school. It was an $18,000 contract he had chased for a year, and he missed the bid deadline by 9 days. On the 9th day, he was in a records office in another county with a woman of 78. That contract would have paid for new hearing aids and a classroom FM system. He does not talk about it. When Verna brought it up, he said one thing and changed the subject. Cold is honest. It shows you every gap. I would rather find the gap than keep the contract. In the hallway outside courtroom 2, before Ramona Fitch put a hand on his arm, Gil Ostrander stopped in front of Owen and took an envelope out of his jacket. It was soft with handling. Return address, Cabot County, Missouri. A name on the front in a shaky hand. Siobhan M. Doyle. It had never been stamped. He wrote it in October. He never got an address for her. Then why do you have it? He asked me twice to find one. I never did because I was going to. Then he died. Then I found one and used it for this instead. Owen looked at the envelope and did not take it right away. Why now? Because your daughter asked me a question in front of a judge, Gil Ostrander said. She is the first person in 19 years who did not simply believe me. That is not an answer. I have written 4 letters to Junie since February. I have the address. I have the stamps. He looked at the envelope in Owen's hand. 4 letters, no answers. So I know what that envelope is worth. I know what it costs to be the man holding a letter nobody is coming to read. Owen took it. He did not open it for 11 days. When he did, he read it once alone in the van. Then he sat down with his daughter and translated it into the clumsiest sign language in Ohio, one sentence at a time, over most of 2 hours. She did not correct him once. The letter was 4 paragraphs. 3 were apologies. The last one asked whether she was warm enough where she lived now. The induced draft motor went in on the second Saturday in May. The house came up to 68 degrees for the first time since February. Wren took her coat off indoors and made a great show of it. Then she knocked on the kitchen table 3 times. Owen looked up. "You are safe," he signed slowly, and got it right. She shook her head. She knocked 3 again and pointed at him. "3 means I am cold. Come over." He came over. She is 10 now. She has an FM system the district paid for after her teacher made a nuisance of herself in 4 meetings. She has a father who signs like a man carrying something heavy up a narrow staircase and who has never once put it down. Every year on the 9th of March, they do the same thing. Owen sets 2 cups on the table, one of them for nobody. He says it out loud and signs it at the same time, badly, the way he says everything. "Say her mother's name." And Rembrandt raises her hands and says it the only way it has ever been said correctly in that house. Not with a mouth, with 3 shapes in the air, with a chipped tooth, and a rabbit named Pepper, and a radiator called the Tin Man. With 11 years of a woman who was always cold. Nobody in that kitchen can hear it. It is still the truest sound in Ohio. Cold is honest. It shows you every gap. So as a child, if anybody ever thinks to ask her what she saw, drop a comment telling me what you would have done the moment that man signed "Good morning" to your daughter across a courtroom. And if this story reached you, send it to the person in your life who has never once been asked what they saw.